First thing that I want you to do, small in one of the corners of your paper, I want you to go ahead and put your name, an hour. So small in one of the corners of your poster board, go ahead and put your name and hour. Eventually this will be cut away, so it won't be on each of your circles, but the way we have to store our poster board, we put it in the turn-in cabinet. So each day I will have to call you to come get your poster board since it won't fit in your art locker. So that's why I want you to have your name on it, so that way you get back your poster board. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to work with our protractors, and we are going to draw a perfect circle. So you might notice there are two different styles of protractors. Some of them have this little insert, and some of them don't. They're just slightly larger. So you might want to make note of which one you have in case you need it to measure again later on this week, that you grab the right style. But I selected this one because I want to point out to you, I think both of the protractors do this, where they add a little bit of extra onto the bottom. So if we look at the protractor here, we can see the 0 line here. It says 180, but it's the 0 line, and over here it's the 180. There's a little bit of extra space below that. We don't want to include that space in our circle. So the first thing I want you to do is make a mark where your 0 would be. So for me, my 0, I'm going to follow the top line of numbers. So my 0 would be right here where it says 180. And then at the other side, I'm going to make another little mark where it says 180, and I'm going to write 180 so it can help me keep track of where my degrees are. So I have a mark at 0 and I have a mark at 180. And then I'm going to draw a line from 0 to 180 around the edge of my protractor. So I want you to go ahead and do that. So make a mark at 0, a mark at 180, and then make a semicircle or a half circle between those 2 points. Now there's still one more measurement we need before we move our protractor. When we go to fold this into an equilateral triangle, we'll need the 120 mark. So if you want to go ahead and make a mark and write 120 right there. So it should be in the top right side of your protractor. So once you have 0, 120, 180, and you have your half circle drawn, we're going to rotate our protractor. So you can see I flipped it upside down now. And now I need to line up my lines so that my 180 lines up with what was my 0, now lines up with 180. And what was my 180 now lines up with 0. So we're going to finish the bottom half of our circle, but again we want to make sure we're not including this little extra piece of plastic in our circle, or it's going to throw off our circle. So once you have those two lined up, go ahead and trace around the outside edge of your protractor. Now before you move your protractor, we have one more measurement that we need. So looking at the outside numbers here, I'm going to look for 60, or I can look for 120 underneath it, and I'm going to make a line here. And this would be my last measurement mark for my equilateral triangle. So here on the last side, and you can write 60 or 120 or whatever if you want to do the math. I believe this would be 270. So then once you have those marks, you're going to remove your protractor. Now we need to create our equilateral triangle. Okay, so we have our perfect circle. Now we're going to connect some of our degrees. We're going to connect from 0 to 120. So I'm going to line up the edge of my protractor between 0 and 120, and I'm going to make a straight line. And that's going to be one side of my equilateral triangle. And then I'm going to line up I'm going to skip 180. I'm not going to connect to 180. That was just there to help me make my perfect circle. So then I'm going to connect my next two marks. Again, like I said, I believe it's 120 and 270. We're going to connect those. And then from 0 to our last mark that we added. So when you look at this, your tabs should look fairly similar in size. And if we measured our angles, we should have an equilateral triangle. So each side should be the same measurement, each degree should be the same measurement. So this is going to be our template. So I want you to write in it the word template. What that means is we're going to cut this out and we're going to trace it. This circle will not be used to construct our polyhedron, but it will be used to create all the other circles that we use for the construction of our polyhedron. So once you have this finished, we're going to cut out our circle. So there should be scissors in the tote trays at your table from the collaging materials. Yeah, or sometimes we have scissors up in the drawer on the counter. Right now I believe all the scissors are out at your table in the tote trays. So you might have to dig underneath all the magazines. I'm hoping to pull those out for later today so you won't have to search for scissors. If you can't find scissors at your table, go to a table that has extra scissors at it. So, and I find it easier to cut out a square like this than to try and cut the circle from the whole poster board. So I would just cut a little space around your circle. And then when you cut, I'm going to ask you to stop and just watch for a second. A few pointers. We don't want these circles to have jagged edges. We want them to have nice smooth edges. So if you can take long cuts, so rather than doing short, quick, choppy cuts, try and do nice, long, fewer cuts, and try and follow that line as best as you can, especially on this template where it's going to be traced 20 more times. Try and be as accurate as possible. So go ahead and cut out your template circle.